Just out of curiosity, you mentioned one effect as obesity, eating meat. Do you see that as the cause of eating meat?
Well, eating meat definitely causes obesity, and vegetarianism and veganism has been successfully used to allow people to lose weight and keep the weight off. So that's what I was saying. Vegetarians and vegans are about a tenth as likely to be obese. You can be an obese vegan, you can do nothing but, I mean, you can have a genetic issue where you can do nothing but eat French fries, jujubes, and beer. And you can do it, but vegans are about a tenth as likely to be obese, and vegetarians are about a third as likely to be obese.
But isn't it more the lifestyle that you choose to lead that really leads to obesity? Because obesity isn't just, it's not a disease. It's being made out to be a disease, but it's about the choices that you've made. You can eat meat, and if you exercise regularly, you do everything else that's healthy, you can still eat.
Oh yeah, I mean, a third of meat eaters are not overweight. So sure, but the only diet in peer-reviewed science that's been shown to, you factor everything else out, and you look at diets, the diet that works with your physiology, which is a plant-based one, allows people to lose weight, independent of other lifestyle choices, whereas the diet that doesn't work is a meat-based diet. So yeah, I mean, it's only 15% of smokers are going to get lung cancer, but there's still a direct link between smoking and lung cancer. 85% of smokers won't get it.
But I mean, can you still say that obesity is a result of eating meat and it's not a lifestyle that you choose to eat and it's just a factor?
Well, I mean, I think as long as you qualify
using obesity as one of the effects of eating meat, it's more lifestyle.
I don't know. I mean, if vegans are a tenth as likely to be obese, I'd say there's pretty strong causality there.
I have to go to the next question, probably.
Yeah, I have two more questions. The first was you're saying that physiologically we're herbivores. So I was just wondering about why there's like an RDA for vitamin B12 and where we get that source since it's not found in, it's only found in animal sources. Like what other sources are you recommend that we get vitamin B12?
Yeah, B12 comes from bacteria, and up until 50 years ago, the primary source of B12 was water, but we started fluoridating water, so there's no bacteria in water, so we don't get it. And then organic vegetables, which was all vegetables up until 60 years ago, you get it in the vegetables because there would be soil, which would be bacteria. Now the only bacteria in our diets comes in meat or dairy products, but B12 is not synthesized. I mean, you don't get it from the flesh of the animal, you get it from the bacteria. So all B12 supplements, like 100% of them, are vegan because B12 is a bacteria, it's synthesized from bacteria, not from flesh.
And then my second question is, would you like personally say there were like happy dairy cows and chickens at like an Amish farm, and they like made milk and eggs and they sold them at the farmer's market? Like, would you be against purchasing that milk or eggs from like a farmer's market? Like, would that be?
Well, I've been to so-called happy farms. I mean, I think the one vegan exception, which is ethically acceptable, is if you have companion hens or your friend has companion hens and they lay eggs. I would think, as I was talking about earlier, veganism is not purity. There is, of course, there are environmental problems, period, with anything that we're going to consume. So eggs from well-treated companion hens or not to be slaughtered would be the big vegan exception. Dairy, I haven't seen it yet. I think it could. Probably not. I mean, dairy cows give milk for the same reason all males give milk. They give milk for their babies. And even the smallest dairy farms are taking the babies away, generally within a day or two. The males oftentimes end up in veal crates. The females are added down to the herd. The separation of mother and calf is painful. So, I mean, there might be some hypothetical situation for dairy, but I've never seen it. I mean, the worst abuse on the Meet Your Meat video of dairy farming is a small organic dairy about 20 miles from PETA. And I mean, the cows are all lame and suffering. The babies are all taken away. They're shipped to many miles to veal slaughterhouse to veal farms in Pennsylvania. And the level of abuse is pretty severe.
I just want to respond to one slide you showed. You asked if people weren't willing to kill their own animals and how they would treat them. I just want to respond that one thing is a lot of people are willing to use the toilet, but at the same time they're not necessarily willing to go to the swing or reception. Problem?
Yeah, I mean, disgusted to slice animals' throats open, it's that we would have ethical issues with slicing animals' throats open or chopping their beaks off or castrating them without pain relief. And so you're compromising your ethics in this mercenary relationship where you're paying people to do those things to animals for something that gives you pleasure for that long and isn't good for you. I'm actually curious, I will answer that, but how many people here are vegetarian? And how many people eat meat? Okay. Well, there's state legislation that we support. At the federal level, we can't even get meaningful consumer protection. We can't get laws passed, that the entire medical establishment supports to stop drugging up animals. Because you end up consuming those drugs when you eat meat. So the American Medical Association and the entire medical establishment is of one, saying stop it, and the meat industry is too powerful. The New York Times has a front page expose about how filthy our meat industry is 2 days ago. The Washington Post has done a couple of them. We can't get what every other developed nation in the world has. Similarly on the environment, across the line. So meaningful welfare legislation at the federal level, when you can't get health and environmental stuff through, probably not going to happen. But at the state level, there are some very good things and a lot of cause for optimism. Like Proposition 2 in California, banned in California field crates, gestation crates, and battery cages. The main one for California is the battery cages. They're about 18 by 20 inches. They create an industry average of 6 or 7 hens. Each cage is where 95% of eggs come from. And California banned it by the largest margin in California ballot initiative history. So there were like 13 ballot initiatives this year. Beat all of them, beat Barack Obama, beat every other ballot initiative in history. So when people are allowed to choose, they say no.
I am an 8-year vegetarian and a 2-year vegan, but I've only recently begun to consider the ramifications of choosing products made by companies like the Coca-Cola Corporation, who violates civil rights issues in foreign countries such as in Colombia, where they're slaughtering meat organizers, and in Southeast India, where they're regulating water supplies. So what is PETA's stance on products which are considered vegetarian or vegan, like Coke, which doesn't have any animal products in it, but clearly commits environmental and human rights violations?
Well, PETA, for all of our functions, does not buy Coca-Cola for a range of reasons. And we try to consider, all of those issues to the degree that we can. As an animal rights organization with the mission statement, animals are not ours to eat, to wear, to experiment on, or to use for human amusement, that's where we focus principally. But we certainly have a lot of people who are concerned about the full range of issues, including what a lot of corporations are doing in Colombia and other Central American nations.
But if they're touching the environment, doesn't that have implications for animals who live in this
It does, and it goes back to a significant degree, to the degree to which, what are the choices that you're making? How pure can you be? Doing the best you can within the cards that you're dealt.